Every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-983-6530 now. This advertisement is paid for by Heritage for the Blind.
This is Paul Feinbaum. That'll do it for me today. Coming up next, The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
The Braves roll into the 2025 season with a singular focus. Bring home the division title and remind the league what Atlanta is all about.
Swung on, driven to left center field and deep. That baby's out of here. Austin Riley. Trio to Olsen, and he powers one. Deep right center field to the wall. It's gonna fly. It's a home run. Back-to-back homers.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
I'm here with Thomas from Talent Heating and Air. With the temperatures going up and temperatures going down right now, now is a good time to get your heating and air system looked at. Thomas, when somebody calls, you guys answer.
That's right. The phones are staffed by us. They're manned 24/7. We're ready to come out and take care of you that day.
How do they give you guys a call?
You give us a call at 256-503-4490.
And you can find you guys on the World Wide Web at
talenthvac.com.
And now is a good time to do this because you guys are offering a special deal.
That's right. We're doing $49 tune-ups this spring. We're also doing free second opinions. We offer that year-round. Somebody comes out, they say you got a bad compressor, a leaking refrigerant. Give us a call, see if we can save you some money.
Thomas from Talent Heating and Air. Thomas, one more time, that phone number.
256-503-4490. AL certain number 21014.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Tom Abraham here for my friends at Your Home Window Company. When it comes to replacement windows, exterior doors, or new window screens, Your Home Window is the answer anywhere in Huntsville, Athens, Decatur, or Hartselle. Your Home Window windows and doors are made here in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. When replacing those old windows or doors, Your Home Window has the solution for you. In-home estimates are always free and financing is available. Learn more at yourhomewindow.com and see clearly with Your Home Window. Visit yourhomewindow.com to make an appointment today.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at JetSuperstore.com.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer again. Baumhauer's Victory Grill is extremely proud to have recently received numerous awards, including being voted best wings in the state of Alabama. Other awards received include Best All-Around Restaurant, Best American Restaurant, #1 Sports Bar, Best Chef, Best Wings, and Best Dining Experience. Thank you for 43 legendary years, and we look forward to providing you an award-winning dining experience at every visit. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
This will turn journalism on its ear.
Watch our stream on WZZN TV on Twitch and YouTube.
But you are the greatest hero in American history.
We are 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Back here at Full Moon Barbecue. Come on by. right off the Parkway. I can almost see Brian Temple from here.
Just about. It's one of my favorite places. Full Moon Barbecue. Home of the Yarmans.
I can feel them drooling.
Well,
yeah,
we can
I'm
smell
off
it.
the console.
We can smell Full Moon from our parking lot.
Yes, when the wind's right,
And-
we smell Full Moon, or we smell Krispy Kreme.
Well, you ought to be smelling it because y'all are over here now.
That's right.
So Brian,
They
tell
know
them
me
how
when
you
I
save
pull
you
up.
some money.
They know
Yeah.
they know my truck when it comes to the parking lot.
Tell them how we can save them some money.
Absolutely. Go to 977ESPN.com. Up at the top or left, you'll say saving never tasted so good. You get into big zone deals from 97.7 ESPN Zone and Talk Radio WCCN. Get all best prices for food, for golf, and a lot more. It's the easiest way to double your money. And it's big zone deals at 977ESPN.com.
Had a fleeting thought of having Brian fill in for me today.
That'd be a short
Boy,
show.
I'm
Hope you likes talking about Star Trek.
Well,
If you're-
man,
if
I
you-
don't want to
if
hear
you're-
any more whining about.
if
the
you're a
Braves.
Braves fan, that was tough to take today.
That
most
was a
people working and
heartbreaker.
couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
That was an
Well,
absolute
no,
heartbreaker.
trust me. No, trust me. If you were working today, do not watch the replay tonight. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Just go
But,
ahead and delete on there on your TiVo or whatever.
The best bet was, I guess they were 0 and whatever, 0 and 8.
0-7 to start. Yeah,
To
they're
start
now
the season.
7 games under 500 again.
Yeah, well, so they're 0 and 7, and nobody had ever gone to the playoffs at 0 and 7 ever, and they were still one of the favorites. And
That's right. That's right.
And I almost did it, but I didn't.
You can almost hear it in Ben's final call.
Pitch on the way, ground ball out to short, taken by Perdomo. Hard time getting it out of his glove, gets to the second for one, over to first, and a bang play and a double play to end the game.
They sound happy there, though.
And the stunned Braves just look on, wondering what just happened. An absolute catastrophic meltdown by the Braves as they allowed 7 runs in the top of the ninth. What was once a 10-4 lead going into the top of the ninth turns into an 11-10 defeat, and by far the worst loss of the season for the 2025 Braves.
Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night.
You know,
That's
maybe
our
just
show.
wake them up. You know, that would be good if that just wakes them up.
So
Well,
that
if I could just be radio nerd for just a minute. I don't know what Ben Ingram has on his microphone, but the processing sounds so good.
It does.
He
It
sounds
does.
good on the phone too. I don't know how
Yeah,
it does.
yeah.
I think he has an audio engineer that just follows him around.
Braves now head out to San Francisco to take on the Giants. I'm sure that'll go well. And then after that, it's the Brewers. Nothing wrong with that. But then, at least after that, at home against the Rockies, you would think. Anyway, you never know. You really never know. By far, the most entertaining thing that I saw last night was post game after Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Stanley Cup Final. My apologies. Went into overtime. Edmonton a winner. Now, evidently, Edmonton has this happened a couple of years when the Havoc won the President's Cup. That they would have a song that they would play in the locker room. I believe the 2018 team, it was Girls Just Want to Have Fun. So the song for the Edmonton Oilers is Pink Pony Club. The popular song, I can't remember the singer's name, but that led Wayne Gretzky to ask.
Pony, is that a band or is that a song?
It's a woman. She sings a song, Pink Pony Club, and it's famous. It's on the radio. And,
Canadian, American?
I think it's an American girl, but all of a sudden it popped off. I believe she won a few Grammys, and now they're rocking it in the locker room. So I'm curious.
Pony.
It's the new generation.
Yeah,
Wayne.
I gotta get that on my ringtone.
Obviously this is it.
This is what they were rocking in Edmonton, Alberta last night. See, it's too much of a build-up. At least with Girls Just Want to Have Fun, it's just like
Yeah.
Gets right in to the beat. But anyway, yeah, that was mildly entertaining there for Wayne Gretzky to talk Pink Pony Club in post game there on TNT. Very entertaining game, as was game one of the Women's College World Series. A late surge there for Hook Them as Texas, a winner over the Red Raiders, looking for the clean sweep tonight. And we're walking you up to that game, as you'll be able to hear it right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. But the big news, the breaking news that I'm sure SportsCenter and all the national talk shows, I don't know how much time we want to spend talking about it, but Aaron Rodgers plans to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers, announcing it today. Sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter that the 41-year-old quarterback will indeed sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? As the Steelers now officially are going to have Aaron Rodgers, according to Adam Schefter from ESPN. You excited about that?
Yes.
I can tell.
Just thrilled.
I mean, clearly that's the biggest problem for the Steelers. I mean, the Jets, they flourished with Aaron Rodgers. So.
Yeah. Granny thought they were going to win the Super Bowl. I thought
both years in a row.
He lost his mind.
Both years in a row. Coming up on the program today, we will talk some NBA Finals with a friend of the show. And Scott Hastings is going to join us to break down the Thunder taking on the Pacers. We will. Wrong end. Okay. Is it not quite time for a break, but
getting close.
But nonetheless, Aaron Rodgers suiting up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. At least he's not on the full Brett Favre retirement plan. He's at least branching out to another team that Favre didn't play for, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we'll see how this affects Super Bowl odds and all that from a betting perspective.
Steeler Mike's in here. He was happy.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised he wasn't wearing an Aaron Rodgers jersey here at Full Moon Barbecue.
I think that's where he was going to buy one.
Probably. If you'd like to join us, you can certainly do so on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline at 256-576-4977 is the telephone number, 256-576-4977. And I will tell you that the news that we are all waiting on, we're still waiting on. There is no news in regards to the NCAA settlement. And here we are on June the 5th. Now, one thing that I was told last week down on the beach is that there is a lot of parameters already set in place, and many schools will move forward with the expectation that the settlement will take place before the new year begins on the college side, which is July 1st. So, and July 1st is, let's see here, 3.5 weeks away. So it's, I know. It's, this is a mess more than anything, but nonetheless, it does look like that is what is on tap, at least for many athletic departments, at least coming out of last week's spring meetings down in Destin, which we were a part of, and appreciate everybody listening in and being a part of the program as well. I got a lot of good feedback, especially earlier in the week from David Cutcliffe and his extended visit. And there's a lot of nervous folks in regards to
Well, a lot of decisions are going to be made that, or about to be made, that will affect football for a long, long time.
Because this next go around for the CFP, this is the bigger contract. This is going to go 26 till probably 7 years, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the contract. More or less is the actual what they decide could change football in the next. And in my opinion, could cost them a lot of eyes. We'll see.
And that would equal dollar bills.
Exactly.
As well, where all these, and by the way, we were never told a number last week that each school got. That's usually part of the deal.
They quit.
Yep.
I think they quit advertising that because there are too many hands out there trying to get it.
That's fair. Yeah. So that is a little bit of that story as well out there. There is some reports as well. I love these anonymous reports. Anonymous reports predicting that an anonymous SEC coach predicts that LSU will miss the college football playoff, and quite possibly Brian Kelly will be losing his job this year. An anonymous SEC coach.
What a good source.
Yeah. This is Athlon running with the
Everybody
story.
tries to get just clicks. You start reading
anonymous.
Yeah. Well, I don't. If they could make it, but I don't think they'll be. I don't think they'll be in the SEC championship or anything like that. They might back into it. But
we went through at least taking a look analytically, and of course Texas is your odds-on favorite to win the Southeastern Conference. Second on that list is Georgia, behind Texas. That's not only for winning a Southeastern Conference championship, but winning a national championship title. In fact, ESPN Analytics said best chance. This is just best chance to reach the playoff. Just reach the playoff. Your best opportunity goes to Texas, followed by Ohio State, then Georgia, Alabama, Penn State. Yeah, you heard me. I said Alabama, Penn State, Oregon, Clemson, the U, Notre Dame, Tennessee. The ESPN Analytics, I'd love to know what they're looking at analytically.
I don't see the analytics to me right now do not matter to me. I think there's a useless as a wart on a hog. I mean, it's just
so the rest of the teams at least
because you can't tell because of
A&M, Texas A&M, that is, Ole Miss, then LSU, Michigan, Boise State, and then Tulane, the Green Wave, with our guy down there.
They don't even have a quarterback.
I
don't buy any of this. Yeah. I mean, it's worthless to even talk about that.
I've got barbecue sauce over here. And the reason I've got barbecue sauce is because we're here at Full Moon Barbecue. So come on by and enjoy some dinner here at Full Moon Barbecue. 256-576-4977 is the telephone number. I tell you what, I need to clean up this side. I don't know what's going on, but I got nothing but barbecue sauce over here. So let's go ahead and take our first time out.
Thank God I can eat this rib.
Let's go ahead and take a time out right now, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
It's an amazing time in our industry. Things are changing so rapidly. With digital signatures and workflow software, we help our customers work from anywhere. This helps you save time and money and upgrade your technology. Like I said, it's an amazing time to watch our customers grow and succeed.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title. Because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal, and we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beebs likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
I'm Abraham here for Valley Equipment Rental. You know, if you're a contractor installing fences, you need Valley Equipment Rental for augers of all sizes. And if you need a forklift to get those shingles up high on a roof, Valley Equipment has 10K lifts that reach to 56 feet. Valley also has tow-behind lifts that have a working height of 35 to 55 feet as well for power washing those two-story homes or doing whatever else you need to do. Lifts, forklifts, tow-behind lifts, 35 feet and up. They have your lift at Valley Equipment Rental. 2 locations, North and South Parkway. Valley Equipment Rental.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at woodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
A man walks down the street and says, why am I soft in the middle now? Why am I soft in the middle? The rest of my life is so hard. I need a photo opportunity.
Back here at Full Moon Barbecue. I can vouch for that. Here at Full Moon Barbecue. Come on by. We're here till about 6:45-ish, walking up to Game 2 of the Women's College World Series. But if you'd like to save some dough on some dinner, easy to do so. Head over to our website, 977ESPN.com. Upper left-hand banner reads, Big Zone Deals. Savings never tasted so good. And you can, I've bought multiple Full Moon Barbecue zone deals and can vouch for it as well here at Full Moon Barbecue. Great burgers. Chili cheese dogs are fantastic here. Great desserts, great sides. The brisket is fantastic. I've yet that they have a riblet plate now and I think I might dive into that.
The Diarman's here, right?
Well, yeah, it is. So if you ask for the Diarman, it is a specialty here at Full Moon Barbecue, just here along the Parkway. It's a grilled cheese sandwich, but it can't just be a grilled cheese sandwich. It's got pulled pork in it inside the grilled cheese. So that is the Diarman
That's
here.
a staple at our house.
It's good.
I introduced my lovely wife to that, and now that is a standard. I have to come home with at least one of those.
It's really good, and it's good stuff here at Full Moon Barbecue. 256-576-4977 is the telephone number if you'd like to participate. And on the NBA front, we're about to talk to Scott Hastings, who, of course, former champion there with the Detroit Pistons, but also part of the play-by-play crew that covers the Denver Nuggets. And we'll get his thoughts coming up on the NBA Finals.
When did he play for the Pistons?
He was part of the Bad Boys there. He was also part of the Atlanta Hawks as well.
I remember him when he was there.
Oh, with the Hawks?
Yeah, I don't remember him with Detroit.
He let's see here. He played with the Knicks right out of the gate in 82 and 83. Then the Hawks from 83 to 88. Had 1 year in Miami with the Heat. Then the Pistons from 89 to 91. That was a good time to be there. And ended his NBA career in Denver with the Nuggets from 91 to 93. But his personality is just incredible. And, of course, went to University of Arkansas as well. So that's why I try to tap into a little bit of Hogs here and there when we do have Scott Hastings on the program. But nonetheless, NBA Finals begin tonight. And the Thunder are the heavy favorite in this matchup. But, I mean, not many people had the Pacers making it to the NBA Finals. In fact, quite a few of the talking heads on ESPN had the Knicks beating the Pacers in that series, but Halliburton in particular is.
Do you think they'd fire their head coach if they had anyway?
Don't you just love New York?
That was unbelievable. I don't get it. I mean,
clearly the problem with the Knicks was Tom Thibodeau, but Pascal Siakam played awfully well for the Pacers, but he's got NBA championship resume already on his.
Well, the Knicks have been bad for so long.
Yeah,
I just don't understand.
Yeah,
they're knocking at the door. Did he make the playoffs 4 or 5 years, or all 5 years?
Right off the top of my head, I can think of at least 4 years.
Of course, that's only being the top 50%.
Yeah.
So ridiculous.
But also on the starting lineup for the Pacers is Aaron Nesmith, and he played at Vanderbilt. So it's there is some SEC tie-in a little bit here in this NBA Finals. But the Thunder, this team is so young. This team could be, if they get an injection of confidence with an NBA championship, they're young enough, if they stay healthy, to go on a little bit of a run, if they stay healthy. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in particular, he is getting better and better, the kid out of Kentucky. So that series starts tonight as well, as we are going to join in progress the game 1 of the NBA Finals after game 2 of the Women's College World Series, as Texas looks to wrap things up against Texas Tech. So that is what is on tap here tonight. But evidently we are having some trouble getting in touch with Scotty Hastings, but hopefully we will hear from him
He's much
sooner
He's a
rather
big
than, yeah. but a little bit more on the NBA since we're there right now and waiting on Scott Hastings. Here is Jalen Williams on his team there in OKC. So let's hear what he's got to say about that Thunder.
When you get a group of guys that like playing with each other and like doing stuff for each other and just are constantly willing to like make the extra sacrifices, the extra plays for each other while we go through these ups and downs of the season, I think that's what makes you a good team.
Therese Halliburton has been a superstar for the Pacers, and here's his mindset heading into the NBA
and we know the
Finals.
odds are stacked against us, but it is what it is. We want to be here. We want to play against the best, and this is the best. So, we're looking forward to the challenge as a group.
Adam Silver spoke to the media as well earlier in the week and had a few things to admit. Admits Europe might be ahead of the United States in some areas in terms of player development.
Kobe said this 15 years ago, that there's going to come a day where the European game might surpass the American game just from a standpoint of fundamentals, from playing physical ball as a teenager, because so many young kids are one and done in college and they want to come in. So you're obviously aware of that and sensitive to it.
Yeah, well, look, Shea isn't European; he's Canadian, but he's
American because he went to school in China.
Yeah, but I would just say it's in terms of his development, the seventh slot player in a row where a non-American is the MVP of this league. I mean, the other six, slots European, some repeats, but Kobe, of course, grew up playing basketball in Italy,
right?
And it was a fair point, and he was ahead of his time. And I think, Kobe used many conversations had with him, especially right when he retired. And it was, it's such a sad story, obviously, of his loss, but, that he was very focused on youth basketball. He was training his daughter. He hoped he was going to be a great player in the WNBA. And, what he kept pointing out, too, is that all that flash is great, but it's about winning games. At the end of the day, it's about team basketball. Look at the success of Oklahoma City. Look at the style of basketball they're playing. Look at the success of the Pacers. I think there are things that Europe is doing better than we are in terms of training. I think, and I feel a bit defensive about the American players because it's not for lack of a work ethic. In fact, I think what's happening in a lot of these programs, you talk about in Little League, where you have, pitch counts for young pitchers, et cetera. If you look at what's happening in AU, in many cases, you have young players, playing 6, 7, 8 games,
multiple teams,
2 or 3 days at these tournaments. And I get it. If you're a young player and, that's the game that, Rick Pitino's coming to or whatever else. And you feel, and the people around you are like, he needs to see you play and your knee's throbbing because you're 15 years old, you're still going to play. And I think it's another area that the NBA, I think, needs to get more involved in. And we've had these discussions with the NCAA just to have more oversight over youth basketball, because there's nothing more important to us than making sure that those elite players grow up to be team basketball players and not just have great skills, but understand how to win
I started the largest youth basketball league and tournament in New York City history. And we had a championship game once, and there was a kid on both teams. And he wasn't sure which team he was. The Gaucho, it's a legendary team, them, and another city team. And he didn't know which team to play for because he was on both. But
makes the point.
That's courtesy of Fox Sports 1 right there of that conversation that European basketball may be ahead of United States basketball. And in some respects, in terms of developing, European basketball may be ahead in certain areas, but talent for talent, I'd still believe that the United States can go toe-to-toe. Listen, the European influence has been, you can't deny what the influence has been in the NBA for a number of decades now. So, but it seems as if it keeps on growing and growing, so much so that the early 90s when the Dream Team was needed after that 88 Summer Olympics. So it's
Well,
The rest of the world's catching up.
They were paying their team, the U.S. was
Yeah,
not,
yeah. Professionals against amateurs.
Yeah.
Now there's no amateurs
anywhere.
That's right. So, thought that was an interesting take. Are we ever going to see Adam Commissioner Silver? Excuse me, we're not on a first name basis, but Adam Silver did confirm that there will be a USA versus the world next February for the All-Star game. Don't know if that'll work quite as well as the Four Nations event was in the National Hockey League, but nonetheless, I guess it's something. Anyway, does this NBA Finals interest you at all? Or
who's playing?
I just told you.
I'm just kidding.
It's the Thunder and the Pacers.
Not really. I mean, I might watch some, probably not. I just don't. The NBA just is not the same league as it once was to me
because
they're not as good. I mean, it's kind of boring. It's kind of dribble down there and back up, and there's hardly any defense played. A
lot of ISO ball.
Yeah. So I mean, but you watch it, the scores in the 120s all the time, even the good teams. To me, it's just, there's just they don't play defense. That's just me. I mean, I when Michael Jordan played, I watched.
He was must watch
every game, and loved the Lakers. Didn't love them, pulled against them, but loved to watch them. I pulled against the Celtics. It was. But they were fun and entertaining. And I just don't get the same entertainment. I think it's watered down somewhat, too.
Too many teams?
Yeah, well, yeah. And they play, and it doesn't matter. And they play like that. It doesn't matter sometimes. Because they play so many games, and half the teams make it in the playoffs.
What, load management? That's a term.
Yeah, you never know. But we went to a game, and I enjoyed it.
In Indianapolis.
I enjoyed that. That was fun.
When we went up.
I would probably go if I would probably have tickets and go if I lived
because
in
that
the
was
city.
fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was a couple of years ago. What,
Yeah.
2022?
Yeah.
When we were up there, January of 2022.
You and Scott went. We had a blast.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. But now Indiana back in the NBA Finals for the second time in franchise history. We'll see. That series starts at OKC.
And you could tell they were pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good then.
But we'll see what happens in that regard here moving forward. 256-576-4977 is the telephone number. My apologies on Scott Hastings. Hopefully we can chase him down sooner rather than later, but I am not getting any feedback, just to let you know, Brian.
Same here.
Yeah, back at the ranch. So anyway.
Whatever it is, it's big. It's going straight to voicemail.
Yeah. Hopefully we will hear from Scott, but it's nonetheless, I realize stuff happens, but nonetheless, we will have coverage of the NBA Finals for you tonight after the Women's College World Series. You watch any of that last night? I was entertaining.
No.
As
I have a lot to do at night.
No, Texas Tech right out of the gate scored a run, but late in the game, Texas answered back with 2 runs and made it hold up. So it's now win or go home for the Red Raiders here tonight. They're in Oklahoma City, and I did notice there was some wet conditions out there in Oklahoma City. In fact, it is breathing down their neck right now in Oklahoma City. So weather may be an issue for Game 2 here tonight for the Women's College World Series. Just heads up there. 256-576-4977, the telephone number, 256-576-4977. Didn't get all the audio that I had from last week And Scott Strickland, in particular, the athletic director for the University of Florida. I didn't get a chance to play any of this last week, but this was in the hallway right outside. And here's a little bit of what the athletic director at the University of Florida had to say on the issues around college football, maybe implementing a European soccer format.
We have to do it when you get to 16-14 basketball or baseball or softball tournament, just because of sheer numbers, right? You don't have enough games played among everybody to rank the standings. And because all the games get played, it works okay in those sports. It really, I question whether it really is appropriate for college football or to the level that we're asking it to act in. In a lot of ways, college football historically is a regional sport with national appeal, and we all really badly want to make it a national sport. But given the litigation environment and the challenges that come with the subjective nature of taking such a small sample size of 12 games and trying to evaluate 130 teams based on that, I think we need to look at other ideas, whether it's the play-ins. There may be some other ideas that we haven't even come up with yet, but I don't know that the model we currently are using is ever going to be satisfactory.
Is there that 1 and 2 game and then maybe 3, 6, 4, 5?
I think there's a lot of
Then
options.
that's 4 audit bits there.
I think there's a lot of different options you can look at. Do you do just straight play-in games? Is there any reason to have championship games at that point? I don't know. Does the SEC just say, hey, we're just going to have our own deal, and that way we get away from some of the litigation concerns, and we don't have to worry about what other people are trying to, put, it's their priorities on us, and we have different priorities maybe than others. It's hard to do what we're trying to do on a national level. And you remember back in the day, the Big Ten champion and the Pac-12 champion were tied in the Rose Bowl, and for a long time that worked well until everybody thought, it's really sad that like the number 1 team out of the Big Ten can't play the number 2 team out of the SEC because they're tied to different bowl games. So all of this is in effect an attempt to try to not have those days come back, but it's really hard to do it the way we're doing it. It was hard with the BCS era. None of these evolution process we've been through, none of these seem really satisfactory, and there's always somebody who feels like it doesn't work for them. And I don't know how I'm not being defeatist. I don't know that given the size of college football with the few number of games we play and the disparity in the quality of the different conferences, if we're ever going to get to a point where nationally it's going to make sense the way we all want it to. And so I think we have to be honest about that and be creative, and what else could it look like?
So why would 9 games becomes more appealing as a league if there are 4 automatic qualifiers? Why?
Well, if you're basing your postseason participation on conference standings, you want as many, and it's not on somebody's opinion being based on it, you want as many opportunities as possible to get the most representative schedule so you can be as fair as possible to everybody.
Trev said he's in favor of 9 games if the league is protected. Protected. He didn't say guaranteed. That's a good way to put it. Is there wiggle room, like where you get some assurance that is not for guaranteed bids? Is there something where a world where that looks like that?
I don't know of any stuff. There may be other options out there. The guaranteed bid seems like the most obvious one, but there may be some other paths here. But I think the sentiment that Trev is talking about is the right one, which is how do we make our postseason participation less subjective and more objective.
Do you think it's getting late?
It does seem like we're against the clock a little bit, and so maybe there's got to be another interim step, of evolution. They made the decision to seed 1 through 12 straight up, and maybe that's maybe that gets us by for another year. it's not ideal for sure, right? And again, it speaks to how complicated it is to take this sport of 130 teams with 10 different conferences, 4 of them so-called AQ autonomy conferences, and make something fit. Everyone would agree that top to bottom, historically, our league and the teams in our league play the most strenuous, most rigorous conference schedule, and it doesn't look like what other people play on a normal basis. Now, that's not saying that there's not one-offs and exceptions, but in general, that's the case. How do we, to Trev's point, protect ourselves and create a structure that makes sense and works for the SEC for sure, and if it works for everybody else, that's great. But we may not get there to where it works for everybody.
Do you favor a 14-team or a 16-team playoff?
I think the more opportunities of legitimate postseason opportunities is the best for everybody.
Do you think we're running out of the day where we're trying to figure out who the best team in college football is, needs to involve more than the Big Ten and SEC?
You know, it kind of goes back to we had generations of college football where it was a regional sport with national appeal, and there were a lot of years we never got to see the best team from the SEC play the best team from the Big Ten, and it has proven really hard to try to solve that, and we're all still trying to solve it, but it's what pro sports are able to do with the number of teams they have and having an objective way to determine who's making postseason. I think we're all trying to subconsciously mimic that, and it doesn't work with the numbers that we have and how the quality of our leagues vary. And I don't know what the solution to that is. I'm not, so from an SEC perspective, is there a way we could work with everybody to figure out a way that we think protects our league and provides as many opportunities for everybody, or do we need to look at other options?
What are those other options, like doing your own thing?
I mean, that would be one. I don't think that's what anybody, that's probably not top on everybody's list, but I mean, if you're just blue sky thinking, that would be an option, right? To have every conference do their own playoff. And again, that's not ideal, but there's some, from a legal standpoint, I think there's some advantages there because we would probably eliminate some of the risk we currently face by trying to do something across all these different conferences. But it's not what, the fans want something that's going to be on the field. The basketball tournament works, even though it's not ideal to have a committee, it works because you have 64 teams that play 30-something games, and you can fairly evaluate it, and there's enough inclusion there. It works in softball, works in baseball. The math doesn't quite seem to work in football, and I don't have an answer for it. Greg Sinke's really smart, and we're blessed and fortunate to have him, and I think he'll help figure out as good a solution as we can find. But there's not going to be a perfect solution to sport football. I don't feel like, as long as we're trying to accommodate 130 schools in Division I, or 60 to 70 schools in the power conferences, I think those numbers don't work the way we all want it to.
When do you think we'll start seeing decisions? Like, there's always lingering intertwined issues that obviously sides are all laid out. What do you think triggers some of the decision-making processes?
Well, the commissioners for the CFP are going to have to, I would think, in the coming weeks, if not months, but I should say that opposite, in the coming months, if not weeks. Yeah. They're going to have to land on what happens after this year.
Yeah.
And that's going to drive a lot of things. It's going to drive a lot of conversation related to, how our schedule lines up from a conference standpoint. And, but the CFP format is, I think, a linchpin of all that.
Have y'all looked at, this is blue sky thinking, European soccer has bids based on previous performance?
I don't know if the commissioners have looked at that or not. That is a model that there's a lot of similarities between college football in America and soccer in Europe. And I have the Champions League is really interesting. They just, Premier League just finished up the season, if you follow that. And they know right now who's going to be in the Champions League next year based on who finished where this year in the Premier League. I don't think
that is Scott Strickland.
Scott Strickland,
the athletic director for the University of Florida.
Why people don't like him. A lot of people don't like him, and I never understood why. Now I do. I mean, what's he talking about? I mean, he's not even – he's the athletic director.
He's the athletic director at the University of Florida.
And what he's saying is –
came from Mississippi State.
There you go. So he impacted a lot there. First of all, he's on the same line as I am as far as they shouldn't go to 9 games if they're not going to get 4 guaranteed. And listen, last year they didn't care, but because they didn't take strength of schedule in, and after they pumped everybody to you got to play these games, and we're going to strength the schedule is going to matter. So now that that's what they're trying to protect when he says protect, and I get that. I get that all these other conferences are after the SEC. There's no question after their money, but just play SEC schools, that's crazy. Who wants to do that? I think that
did you like 2020? The COVID year.
Oh, yeah, but we played Ohio State and beat them like a drum.
Well, I know, but the regular season was nothing but SEC.
Right, I get that, yeah.
Did you like that season?
It was okay. I mean, there were no fans. Couldn't go to the stadium, so.
I didn't mean in that regard.
Yeah,
I meant schedule-wise.
Not really. I mean, I thought it was it was really tough.
And Alabama went undefeated.
They did go undefeated, but they only played 10 games, so that's 3 less than what they play normally. So that's not enough games, and I just think they ought to take the top 8 teams in the country and play a national championship, and rest of the other guys go to the bowl games, not even have the bowl games, and just have the CFP and let them do the bowl games like they do now, so the little schools can get their payday. And to me, everybody's trying to unpack this to where these people get in. They just take the top 8 teams.
I don't think we're reeling back to 8 now that we've ballooned up to 12.
I'm not saying they are. I'm not predicting they are. I'm saying they should. There's a damn big difference between that.
Yeah, I hear you. But rather than what should, let's figure out what's going to happen.
Well, how are we going to know what they're going to happen when they don't know? So, I mean, they can't even a judge in California can't even decide what they've been talking about for over a year.
Yeah, we all circled April 7th. And
we've been circling dates all the way across.
And it's now June 5th.
This was, remember, they were going to do away with walk-ons. They didn't know if they were going to have walk-ons last year.
Yeah.
And Scott Strickland's talking about all these other sports and how they do it. They're not playing any of these other sports, Steve, if football goes away. There's not the money to do it.
That's a fact.
So I don't, it's to me, that was the most weirdest conversation I've ever heard. What all he was saying. And bringing up soccer, how they do it.
Well, it was a response to a question, just to be fair.
Yeah, but I would have said soccer. What do you call it soccer? Soccer, British soccer. So you're only eligible for the championship if you do good last year. That makes no sense. They talk out of both sides of the mouth because they want it to be inclusive, with all these small teams have a chance to go to the big thing, and then they bring up something like that, which will make that almost impossible. So it doesn't. It's just, yeah. There you go.
That is Scott Strickland from last week. We're live here at Full Moon Barbecue. Need to take our final time out here in this first hour. Phone lines open to you at 256-576-4977, the telephone number.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Since 1983, Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate's Ann Adams has been your local go-to real estate expert in the area. As a buyer, you can trust Ann's in-depth knowledge of the local housing market to narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in, saving you time when shopping for a new home. When you're ready to sell, Ann's expert negotiation skills will ensure you get a fair price and hassle-free experience. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or email annadamsrise@gmail.com.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
There is power in caring when it is put into action. Each year, our bankers serve on nonprofit boards, support our local educators, and volunteer with our hometown food bank. I'm Bobby Humphrey, Vice President of Business Development for Bryan Bank, and community service is just not a line item in our mission statement. It's who we are. Because after all, Alabama is our home too. That kind of commitment to community might not be what you would expect from a bank, but it's exactly what you can expect from us. Give us a call or stop by one of our 2 offices in the Huntsville area and experience unbeatable service and legendary results.
Bryan Bank Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 2428943, member FDIC.
John Abraham here for Bobcat of Huntsville. Right now till the end of June, you can get 0% financing on the world-famous line of Bobcat skid steers, excavators, mowers, and tractors. Need attachments? They got them. And did I mention 0% as in nada? No financing charge for 48 months. It's like free money. Visit the brand new Bobcat of Huntsville in their tremendous new facilities on Highway 20 in Madison, right next to Redstone Harley-Davidson.
At the Huntsville Sports Commission, we do sports. The Rocket City is your destination for world-class sports in North Alabama. The Huntsville Sports Commission brings elite tournaments, championships, and other exciting athletic events to our city. From youth leagues to national championships, we're driving tourism, boosting local business, and building a stronger, more active community. When you team up with us, we'll worry about the details so you don't have to. We do sports.
Your Fox 54 weather brought to you by Tellini's Italiano.
A partly sunny sky this afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the low and mid 80s. A couple of isolated, widely scattered showers and thunderstorms are going to be possible. Dropping into the mid upper 60s as we head into the overnight. Better opportunity for scattered showers and thunderstorms Friday afternoon. A mostly cloudy sky. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 80s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Your Fox 54 weather only on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Talking ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Weekday mornings beginning at 7 a.m. only on 97.7 ESPN and the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app.
Back here at Full Moon Barbecue. Scott Hastings going to join us at the top of the hour.
You got the same news I did. He said, don't know what's going on, but we're going to yell at a cell phone company why his phone didn't ring.
Yeah.
So he has cleared his schedule at the top of the hour. We'll be joining him right after we get an update from the Worldwide League at the top of the hour.
That's right. So
unless you guys want to go over again like you have every other
No, yeah. We have done that 2 days in a row. We're going to put
we're going to get put on restrictions.
Yeah.
The Czar will be after us.
Oh, yeah. The
Condor?
I didn't get a chance
Oh, I'm
to play
sorry. My
all
mic
of
was
what
on.
didn't get a chance to play all of what Lane Kiffin had to say last week either. And Lane was open to the idea of if the CFP expands to 16, for all 16 spots to be open.
I have no problem with that either.
And later on, he had this to say about player contracts moving forward for college football.
Probably long term. Again, I think on all these, I feel a little bit different from year to year because things move and things change, and different state laws. There's just a lot of things in this where, first of all, this is what we should do and this is how to do it. Even when I first said, well, they need to be employees. Well, there were issues with that too that weren't so easy. So I think there's probably got to be something like that eventually, because for a while now it's all been very player friendly with the regulations and the rules around it. Now it's going to kind of come back somewhere in the middle, but there probably needs to be, because I think you're still going to have a lot of loophole issues and problems for both sides until there's real contracts, that have years to them.
So he's advocating for contracts in between the players and the university. And he's saying multiple years, not just a year by year. For instance, the scholarship.
I said I think they ought to have 2-year contracts, and after the first 2 years, if they both the team and the coach agree, allow them to leave. If they're, but if they don't, then they ought to get some kind of payment, whatever that would be.
Yeah. To the school that lost the investment that they put into that player.
Absolutely, for 2 years. So, because usually your first 2 years, most people don't play. And it's just could be for a variety of reasons. And truthfully, you don't want if you want a career in the NFL, you don't necessarily want to play 4 or 5 years in college. Because you only have so many stats.
Yeah, wear and tear.
Yeah.
Scott Hastings is set to join us after this 3-minute timeout. Get an update from the worldwide leader. What's that?
Allegedly.
I promise. Well, you know what? We will do our best to hear from the one and only Scott Hastings on the other side.
I put a fresh hamster in the wheel. It should work.
I hope so. I hope so. Turn up those cell phone ringers, and hopefully we'll be good. Live here at Full Moon Barbecue. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to come test drive any one of our over 100 F-150s. From rock-solid, dependable work trucks to our state-of-the-art Platinum Series, we've got an F-150 for you. Test drive one today, and you'll understand why the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, going on 48 years in a row. Just as successful offenses and defenses are built on teamwork, Woody Anderson Ford is powered by our people. Our sales and service teams are well trained to save you time and money. And because we want your business again and again, no one will work harder to earn it. Our mobile service teams come to your home or business for oil changes, brake work, tire rotations, and more. And the great thing is you don't pay extra for it. We come to you with mobile service at no extra charge. Proud to be local, family-owned, and at your service for over 62 years. Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Sports Center. I'm Chad Ryder. 4-time NFL MVP Aaron Rodgers plans to sign a 1-year deal with the Steelers, reports ESPN's Adam Schefter. Rodgers plans to fly to Pittsburgh tomorrow to join the Steelers ahead of next week's minicamp. Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson aggravated the AC joint in his surgically repaired right shoulder. No timetable on his return. It's game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight in Oklahoma City. with the Thunder taking on the Pacers. ESPN's Stephen A. Smith on the importance of Game 1 for Indiana.
Tyrese Halliburton is the key. You can't have cats having a game under their belt to figure him out with the win. You got to take advantage of the foreign territory or the foreign element he brings to the table when he's going up against OKC in Game 1. You want to have a chance to win this series, you got to win Game 1. If not, you're going back to Indy down 0-2 because you ain't winning Game 2.
And Game 1 of the NBA Finals is right here on ESPN Radio with coverage getting underway at the bottom of the hour. You can watch the game on ABC. Coverage starts at 8 Eastern. Every game of the NBA Finals on ESPN Radio and ABC TV. Fever star Caitlin Clark could come back from a left quad strain as early as Tuesday. She's been sidelined for the past 3 games. Coco Gauff with a straight sets win, and the second-seeded American will face top-seeded Aryna Sabalenka in the French Open women's final on Saturday. Gauff going for her first French Open title. Day baseball in L.A., and the Dodgers just knocked off the Mets 6-5. Michael Conforto go-ahead RBI single in the 8th against his former team. The Diamondbacks beat the Braves 11-10 with Arizona scoring 7 in the 9th.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman, and coming up front.
Hey, it's resident Super Bowl champ Chris Candy. Coming up Friday, the Knicks moved on from head coach Tom Thibodeau, but which player should they part ways with? My answer just might surprise you. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
Game 1 of the NBA Finals is tonight as we're back here at Full Moon Barbecue. And we went through Scott Hastings' bio earlier in the first hour. Let's see here. I played collegiately at Arkansas, drafted by the Knicks, and then also played for the Hawks, Heat, Pistons, and Nuggets. NBA champ with the Pistons as well. And goodness, what else? What else is on that bio that I'm missing there, Scott?
Connoisseur of the Gap Band.
Connoisseur of what?
The Gap Band.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's nothing wrong with the Gap Band right there. How are you, Scott?
Good, fellas. How y'all been doing?
Doing real well. It's good to catch up with you.
Okay, Scott, do you know there's a rock song that's based off the drums of the Gap Band? Do you know what song that is?
It was by what's our guy that we like that got in trouble with his wife and It's a Foo Fighters song.
Yes. Well, it's not the Foo Fighter. It's a guy from the Foo Fighters. It was actually Nirvana, Teen Spirit.
Nirvana, that's right.
They copied the Gap Band.
That's right.
Yeah, that song.
I saw Dave Grohl talk about that.
Yeah.
So I was in the ballpark.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah,
you were in the ballpark. So who of the Detroit Pistons guys did you hang out with, and who'd you steal clear of back in the day?
Well, I'm not sure that anybody hung around Lambeer, but I although I did, for a devout atheist, I was laying on my buddy's living room floor one Christmas, and he was laying on the floor singing Christmas songs, so that was a unique experience. Dennis Rodman and I were pretty good friends. David Greenwood and myself. Tree Rollins came in that second year I was there, and he and I were buddies from our Atlanta days. And Gerald Henderson hung out. Mark Hughes was a rookie that first year there. He's now I think assistant GM for the Clippers.
So when did Rodman kind of?
But honestly, I'd probably stay in as close a touch with Isaiah Thomas as any of them.
Do you really?
You know, I met him and talked to him for 2 or 3 hours one night with Charles Barkley before an Alabama game in Atlanta. And he's one of the nicest people I've ever really just met and talked to for hours.
Yeah, I think he's got a bad reputation. David Stern helped him do that. He's a super nice guy. And I tell you what, I bet you were in basketball heaven talking basketball with those two guys.
Yeah, we were. We were getting on Barkley for not winning any championships. Actually, it was a fun night. It was a really fun night.
And little did we know it turned into a TNT bit that they've been doing ever since.
That's right. So, but Rodman seemed kind of normal when he was at Detroit.
Kinda.
What happened? I mean, but the good thing is, if you ever want to go to North Korea, you got a buddy to go with.
Well, I'll give you my take on it. He was a simple man, and kind of grew up late high school and junior college days, and in Northeast Oklahoma, lived with his family there, and they're just good old Okies, if you will, and so I got to know him. I hung around him a lot too. He and I sat by each other on the plane for 2 straight years. He looked at Chuck Daly as the father figure, the guy that gave him a chance. I mean, Chuck would talk to him like a father. I don't think he had much of a father growing up, and I think that's been documented. And when the Pistons decided to get rid of Chuck, and they hired his assistant, or actually, I'm not even sure, he was assistant at one time, then came back and was doing television. Dennis thought that the guy was backstabbing Chuck. And from that time on, it kind of blew up that relationship. And then, everybody said, I can't believe your boy wore a wedding dress for his book review. And I go, yeah, he wore that wedding dress. Someone paid him $10 million. So I don't know.
I'm getting fitted for mine if that guy comes around anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm not a giant fan of cross dressing necessarily, but for $10 million, I sure would take pleasure in it.
Yeah, what's one night?
Yeah. What exactly do you need me to wear? So I tell you what, he made a lot of money.
Yeah. So you haven't had, that's the weird thing. You hadn't had any contact with him, I'm sure, in years, though, have you?
I got a number from a mutual friend a couple of years back, and I've written him text. I don't even know if it's his number. Knowing him, he's probably changed numbers 8 or 9 times. I've tried to get back in touch with him a little bit. I got to know Penny Marshall before she passed away, and she was actually, Dennis was close with her, and I passed message to Penny to Dennis, and but no, I have not probably spoken to him in probably probably late 90s.
Wow.
You
know. So something else that Wes owned up to, I don't know if he wants me to tell you, he not a big NBA fan, just likes your heyday better than this heyday today in 2025.
Well, listen, I think the three of us have talked about that in the past. I think you've kind of said that before. And I make a living now covering games now, and these guys are phenomenal athletes. I think people like Steve Kerr are half idiots who say, well, this group of kids now is 10 times better than everybody else. If Wes, if you're studying the Instagram pages, look for Rick Barry or go to YouTube. Rick Barry, somebody asked me about that, and he gave about a 3-minute, I thought, excellent soliloquy on. And listen, he's a Hall of Famer too, and people forget how good that cat was.
Free throw.
He averaged over 30 the year Golden State won the championship in the playoffs that year. So listen, that guy could play.
Yeah.
And he said, just go back and listen. And he talks about, listen, we didn't have extra trainers and massage therapists and dietitians and weight training and all the different stuff these kids are afforded. He said, give me that stuff. And said, I would have even been better than I was. And that's why I don't like comparing us and them from that standpoint, because listen, when we won the championship in Detroit, we had a head coach, 2 assistants, and a trainer. Now each team probably has 10 people on staff, which I still don't understand why. Other than one coach told me, I said, "Why you got so many?" Because my era, you went out and got ready for a game. You went out and worked on the shots that you possibly going to get during the game. You got a sweat going. You worked out. His thought was, if we don't have coaches here making them come to the gym and get up shots, they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, well, then don't tell me that group is better than our group. What
That's
you just
exactly
told me
right.
This group today is not self-motivated, and our group was a lot more self-motivated, playing for a lot less money than these guys are paying too. Someone gonna pay. I'll tell you a funny story. Well, I don't even know if it's funny. I was sitting by John Concac on the bench in Atlanta one game, and John had just gotten a big contract at the time, or no, he hadn't even gotten his contract yet. But we're playing against Golden State, and Joe Barry Carroll's on the team, and Joe Barry Carroll's like one of the first guys that made 7 figures in the NBA, and he was out just dogging it and lollygagging around and all that kind of nonsense. And I sat by John and I said, man, look at him. They're paying him $1 million a year, and that's as hard as he's playing. He ain't even playing hard. And John looked at me and goes, man, if someone paid me $1 million a year, I wouldn't play hard either. Well, and then 2-3 years later, Detroit gives him Auburn's feet, and the Atlanta Hawks offer him a $3 million contract, and that's where he got the name John Contract instead of Concac. And I'm like, come on now. But I always thought, someone's going to pay me $1 million. I'm going to give them $1 million worth of effort.
You would think.
Yeah.
So you saying that makes all the sense in the world, because when I watch it, it's like nobody's playing hard defense. And I think a lot of that has to do with and in some games they will, but it's not consistent. And then I think it's because half the NBA teams make the playoffs anyway.
Well,
so
I'll tell you, and I'll tell you what it's about, because if you've watched the playoffs going on, it seems kind of funny that how the defensive intensity sure has picked up, including, that was, in Denver, that was a big knock. They're not playing defense all the time. Boy, I tell you what, they played pretty good defense in that Clippers and Oklahoma City series. So the capability. The problem is you're playing 82 games in a 4-month window that gets condensed even a little bit more, because the league, signed a $1 billion contract with Emirates for that in-season tournament. So now everything gets pinched and squeezed, and I think the Nuggets had this year, I know it was 3 and it might have been 4, where you played 4 games in 7 nights. And one time there was 5 and 9. Well, to me, if you're talking about getting the quality, and these guys are phenomenal athletes, they really, really are, and they're giving everything, and they work hard. It's why I like to cover the Joker. I watched the game in Dallas where they beat Dallas. I think it was a year or 2 ago. He had like 36 points, 18 rebounds, 10 assists. And we're walking back in the hallway to go by the locker room, and he's in there lifting weights after the game. I'm like, oh, dang, he just had, if anybody might have a night off and sip on a beer after a game, he probably deserved it. Instead, he's out lifting weights, and I'm talking lifting hard. He wasn't just in there, having a talking on. He was working. But I don't want to call him rare. I think he's rare in the league today. But they condensed the schedule. So for me, it used to be, when I grew up, coaches would always say, if you're going to rest in the game, you rest on offense. Nowadays, if you're going to rest in the game, you rest on defense. And that's kind of been the mentality. So I don't think it's, I think the capability is there. And I think, like I said, I think you've seen a little bit in the playoffs. But I think in the regular season, when you're throwing that many games, I mean, there's no reason to have back-to-back games. The exertion. I mean, they already talked about guys that play big minutes are running close to 10 miles a game, and now you're doing that in New Orleans on Thursday night. Then you're flying to Chicago and doing it again in Chicago on Friday. And I just think they wear them out, and I think guys, probably rightfully so, have to conserve some sort of energy to survive the 82 games so that they have it, because they are realizing now, and John Elway said this years ago, you make your fortune in the regular season, but you make your fame in the postseason.
A lot of truth in that.
I think that's a great line.
Well, Scott, we've only got a couple of minutes left with you, so let's break down the series. Who do you like here between the Thunder and the Pacers, sir?
Well, I'm probably going to go with OKC only because, they beat Denver. And I think, as it may turn out, Denver's probably going to play them tougher than anybody else they face this year, which gives me hope that maybe Denver's closer than they even realize. And I think they're really good on top of that, to be honest with you. But that being said, this is kind of who I wanted matched up, because it's two exciting teams. It's two young teams. It's teams that did it with making correct trades and drafting good young players. They're both well coached.
Yeah,
I think this has the capability of being a fun to watch series, is what I think, and so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
Well, we always look forward to our conversations, and we'll dive more into. There had to be at least one conversation I had with the Pistons of, hey, you couldn't throw me a bone and say, can you give me a John I'm saying contract in my head right now, a John Concac deal there, but nonetheless, you got a ring out of the deal, Scott.
Got a ring, and they did increase my salary from $200,000 to $450 one year, and I was pretty happy.
Woo, I bet. Always great to talk with you, sir.
And I'd take that contract right now, baby, out there in radio land listening.
We'll have our people talk to your people.
There you go. Give me some of that barbecue, if not.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
we
full
can
moon's,
afford that.
Yeah, full moon's the real deal. Come on up here to North Alabama. We'll hook you up.
Oh, I seriously. I had this real fast. So you got to go. Had this coach the Broncos. He always said, "Have big old thick Southern draw, made you guys sound like Yankees." And he goes, "Yeah, I grew up in L.A. my whole life." And I go, "I thought you were from the South." He goes, "No, L.A., Lower Alabama." So that's the first time I ever heard of Upper Alabama. So
yeah,
I knew a guy who said he was from L.A., Lower Alabama.
Oh, you're the best, Scott. Scott Hastings. Always appreciate the time, sir. Brian, did you get my message?
I did. I'm going to make that call now.
Okay. If you could go ahead. Chris is expecting our phone call right now. Chris Lowe from ESPN reached out to Chris earlier in the week, and he just texted me about 10 minutes ago of getting him on. Since we dove into our college football conversation, we were at the beach last week for SEC spring meetings, and feels like I have more questions and not fewer questions in regards to.
Well, there's nothing was decided. I mean,
there was a lot talked about.
Well, of course. I mean, they want to decide stuff. They just can't do it. Can't do it.
Love to get Chris's opinion on what is going on, and also penned an article in regards about Hugh Freeze and the level of pressure, honestly, that potentially that Hugh Freeze is under there at Auburn as well, of turning that program around down there on the Plains.
Well, they should be able to win down there, and have been able to win with certain administrations, and this is an important year for him. You know, he has to win 8 or 9 games. You would think for him to get another year.
Do we need to take a timeout, or are we good to go? No, let's talk to Chris Lowe right. Okay, let's talk to Chris right now. And we were talking about your article about the Auburn football team, and you tell me from sitting down with you, what kind of level of confidence do you have at all in this Auburn team this year? How are you, Chris?
I'm good. I mean, they're better. Certainly they'll be better personnel-wise. And so much of it, you guys know this, is a quarterback. That's every team. You know, is Arnold sort of what everybody thought he was coming out of high school? Does he play with more confidence and more presence, more consistency than he did at Oklahoma last year? Certainly they feel good what they've seen in spring, but, spring doesn't count. You got to get out there and do it when it counts in games. I do sense in talking to some of the leaders on that team, not just on offense, but on the defensive side of the ball, guys like Keldrick Falk, that they do have confidence in him. They like the way he's come in and he's wanted to earn everything and really tried to ingratiate himself to everybody on the team and spend time with people, because the quarterback's got to be the leader on your team, certainly one of your top leaders. But that to me is the number one factor is does he play well enough, and not turn the football over, which they threw 13 picks last year, because I think they are better around him than they were. They'll be good in the offensive line. I think the receiving group has a chance to be one of the better ones in the conference. And, they were pretty nasty on defense last year. I think they were 25th nationally. So, yeah, I think they'll be better personnel-wise. But as he himself said, they got to do the things in those big games that don't get you beat. You got to make field goals. You can't throw it to the other team. You can't, get inside the red zone and not score touchdowns. And he, as you said, that's, it's on everybody, coaches, players. And I do think, again, that they'll be better at it. I think Auburn, and maybe I'm in the minority here, I think Auburn the last couple of years probably was a little bit closer than their record indicated. They played against some really good teams and didn't win, but for the most of the game outplayed those teams, i.e. Alabama 2 years ago. It took a miracle touchdown to beat them. They had Georgia on the ropes in the last few minutes of the game and couldn't stop Brock Bowers. And then last year they lost, I think, 3 games by 4 or 5 points or less. And then you go back to stuff like the Oklahoma game. They had that game seemingly won, but you throw a pick that gets returned 63 yards for a touchdown, with 4 or 5 minutes to play. So those type of crippling mistakes that have haunted them over the last 2 years, they've got to play a lot cleaner football. Are they good enough to overcome those types of mistakes this year? No, I don't think so, but I do think they're better. They just got to play cleaner.
Chris, you mentioned that. Why are they throwing the ball in the first place? Really. And it was like Oklahoma tricked them, if you watch the tape, into throwing that ball. They knew they continually got out coached last year, and he would blame the quarterback in the press conference. I think that's why there's a little bit of heat on him now, is because the way that he handled last year was very, very poor.
Well, there's going to be heat on every coach. You guys know that. At a place like Auburn, when you have losing seasons, consecutive losing seasons, no matter what the coach says or doesn't say, there's going to be heat. And that's a place, as I pointed out in the article, that there's only a handful of schools that have won one or played for one. Talking about national titles in the last 15 years, Auburn's one of those. But they've also had a stretch year going back to the end of Gus's tenure where they haven't been very successful. Listen, you said, I asked him point blank. I said, where did you come in all this? And he said, we got to be better. I got to be better. We can't, I think his quote was, we can't run from this as coaches. And, their numbers weren't that bad. You talk about throwing the football, running the football, throwing the football. Again, they've just got to be more disciplined, which goes to coaching. They got to be more consistent. They got to make big plays in big moments that they didn't make last year. I do think they'll be an improved football team. How much better will their record be? I don't know, but I heard you guys talking before you brought me in. It needs to be better. You guys are there in that state. You know what's going to happen if they're sitting there, farting around with 6-6 again next year. So whatever, 7-7 whatever,
Yeah.
just barely making a bowl game. That won't be pretty there on the Plains if that happens. And everybody knows that, though, from guys who've been in that program for 5 or 6 years, like Jeremiah Wright, Calvin Falk, all the way up to Hugh Freeze, and his athletic director, John Kohler.
Well, that first game against Baylor on a Friday night feels gigantic for him. It really does to me, Chris. How about you?
Well, I think they've got to get off to a good start. I think Jackson Arnold's got to get off to a good start.
Yeah.
And get some confidence, and the thing Freeze has done pretty consistently is he's won with different styles of quarterbacks. We go back to Ole Miss. He had different kinds of guys. He had different kinds of guys at Liberty. When I talk about guys' styles of quarterback, Arnold's a guy that can extend plays. I think he ran for nearly 500 yards last year. And that typically has been the type of quarterback in his system, that has worked out pretty well. But I think early on, him gaining confidence, the guys around him gaining confidence in him, and then giving Hugh and the play callers there the confidence to be able to mix it up and balance, because you're just rarely in this league, and you guys, again, I think know this, are you just going to be able to run it down people's throats? You got to be able to throw the football consistently, and you got to be able to do it on third down. And I think that's where a lot of times last year they weren't able to do it, and it caught up with them. So it's a big year, but I look around the league and there's examples of coaches, and Hugh said he felt like he needed 3 classes to get to where the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Texases are. But there have been examples around this league where people have come in and won earlier. Josh Heupel won big his second year. Kirby won big his second year. Lane Kiffin, I think, won 10 games his second year at Ole Miss. So those things are probably working against you, because fans are looking at that and saying, wait a minute, other schools have done it. Now, all those situations maybe weren't comparable. They weren't apples to apples when coaches walked in, but none of them were in great shape. Georgia probably was more so than the others. But that's why I think when you look at, if you're an Auburn fan and you're sort of sitting back and looking at it, you're like, all right, so these other coaches and schools in our league have done it pretty early. Second year, third year, why not us?
Chris, I was kind of half expecting to see you last week down on the beach, but honestly, other than the waves crashing, you didn't miss out on a whole lot. But if anything, I feel like I've got more questions in regards to the CFP and the where do you think we are right now here on June 5th in regards to the 26 format? Do you have any inkling on that, Chris?
Well, now, one of the reasons you didn't see me down there is because of what you just said. Nothing ever gets decided down there. It really doesn't. I'm being a little facetious, but no, I mean, they never really come to any types of decisions, it seems like. It just push it back. And what's the old saying that you have meetings to schedule when you're going to have your next meeting? And it seems like that's sort of what the destined meetings have become. I don't know. Everybody wants what they want. The Big Ten wants something. The SEC wants something. The ACC and the Big 12 want something. And, I can't help but think about our good friend Roy Kramer sitting back right now and cackling. Because when they went down the BCS road in 98, everybody, hated it. They cursed it. They wrote books about death to the BCS and the horrible way to determine who wins a national championship. Now, all of a sudden, I find it absolutely just incredibly funny that you're starting to hear people say, well, maybe we need to go back to a metric or a formula, sort of like the BCS, and get away from the committee. And Roy said, and he was very prophetic, he said, listen, I don't care what system you use to determine who the national champion is in college football. College football is different than everything else. Different schedules, different conferences. Conferences aren't created equal. Schedules aren't created equal. Even within the SEC, guys, they're in balanced schedules. I mean, you look at last year, you look at Florida's schedule, you look at Georgia's schedule, you look at Oklahoma's schedule. Even this year, we're a lot harder than, say, Texas' schedule. So every year it's a little bit different. So I don't know. I know that the coaches in the SEC seem to favor the 5 automatic qualifiers, conference champions, and 11 at large more than they did, the 4 automatics in each of the Big Ten and the SEC, because they feel like most times they're going to get 5 or 6 in.
if you got 11 at-large bids. I don't think anybody in the league, coach-wise, is jumping up and down about playing a ninth conference game. And there's hesitancy to make that decision because they don't know exactly what the playoff format is going to look like. And I think from the SEC perspective, if they're not going to give us credit for playing a ninth conference game, then why do we do it? And I understand that, but the Big Ten plays 9, the Big 12 plays 9. So again, everyone's sort of in there wanting to pull and get their piece of what they feel like it should be for them. I'm talking about conferences. But they got to make up their mind pretty soon. I do believe that one way or the other, guys, we're going to see a ninth conference game. I know Greg Sankey would like to see that. There's a lot of money that's left on the table if you don't play a ninth conference game. I do think that one way or the other is going to happen in 26. You'll see it go from 8 to 9 in the SEC.
That would obviously, but I mean, if if there is indeed an adoption of that 5 plus 11, I've heard many people say we're putting more on that committee, and at least that first go around, at least down here in the Deep South, there wasn't a whole lot of people happy with that committee, Chris.
Yeah, but they're, again, going back to what Roy Kramer said years and years ago, everyone's not going to be happy, no matter what you do. I mean,
yeah,
they wanted a subjective element. They wanted a human element, so they picked the committee. Well, I mean, look at the last couple of years. I mean, nobody at Alabama was happy last year. Nobody at South Carolina was happy 2 years ago. Go ask the Florida State folks what they thought of the committee.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that amount somewhere, some place in the country of gnashing of teeth when a group of individuals gets in a room and looks at metrics and they weigh who beat whom and where they played and when they played, and they look at film and look at tape of all these games, and then they make a human subjective decision of who the last year's case 12 best teams. I know there's talk that maybe you change the format. Maybe you have a mix of a committee and some type of more transparent metrics out there, what exactly they're weighing and what's weighted the most. Because I understand from a fan base or even a coach's perspective, it looks like sometimes a little bit of a moving goalpost, who they pick and who they don't pick. So I don't know that there's a perfect system, I guess, Steve, is what I'm telling you. I don't know what there would be. Lane Kiffin said, just pick 16. Just go 1 through 16. Conference championships, yeah, they matter, but you're not automatically in if you win the Big 12 or you win the Big 10 or the SEC. You just go 1 through 16. You rank them 1 through 16 based on some set of criteria, and that's how you do it. Now, I don't know. Again, that's not going to make everybody happy. I think there's got to be some element in the process. There's got to be some element in the process, though, that we don't completely water down what you do in the regular season. I mean, I would hate to get to a point to where we're in the last couple of weeks of the regular season, and a team has a playoff spot sewed up, and your right tackle is a little bit gimpy, and your quarterback, so you don't play all your guys. You see that in the NFL sometimes.
Yeah.
I just hope in college football we don't get to that.
Well, we're already there. You're going to have 16 teams. That's going to happen. I mean, it is.
Yeah, but you didn't see people resting people late last year. I don't think you've seen that. I think if you get to a point where there's no automatic, where winning a conference championship doesn't matter at all, is what I'm saying. Let's say.
No, I agree. Yeah, that would be worse. No doubt.
Yeah. So I just hope we don't get to that point, is what I'm saying. And maybe we won't. But I do think the regular season's got to count for something. You take Alabama last year. I thought Alabama was probably one of the best 12 teams in the country. They didn't play like it all the time. And the reason they didn't get in is very simple. The next to last week, the regular season, they laid a complete egg on the road against a very average football team and didn't score a touchdown and looked awful.
Yeah.
They win that game, then they get in. It didn't have anything to do with their non-conference schedule, because they went on the road and they played Wisconsin. They did what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go out and play marquee non-conference games. They didn't get in last year because of that game against Oklahoma. Ole Miss didn't get in because they lost to Kentucky. It's the only game Kentucky won all year.
in the SEC was against Ole Miss, and Ole Miss still got a mulligan later in the year, and they lost at Florida. So I still think it gets down to winning key games in your conference, and winning in the SEC is different than winning in the ACC. Now, how we put all that together and how that comes to pass as far as picking playoff teams takes people a lot smarter than me to figure it out.
Well, Chris, but I would argue that the week before they played LSU at LSU and looked like one of the best teams in the country. And that's the whole point is they got to play in. They can't lay an egg. They have play of the hard schedule, and SMU didn't play anything like that. The strength of schedule has to matter, and I think that's the argument. And they did score 2 touchdowns, and both of them were called back. So,
yeah, but you're right. You're right. But that's all relative. It's all relative about who played who. Alabama had a chance to play its way in to the playoff. Ole Miss had a chance to play, and they lost to teams that you should not lose to. And you're right. The grind of the SEC, until you've been in the SEC, and I've been around it forever, that's what a lot of people don't completely grasp is the way that weighs on you as you get deeper into the season. But, going back to Roy Kramer, every conference is different. Every schedule is different. Some years, schedules within that conference are different. And I don't know how you put a plan in that every single year is going to factor in all that. It gets down to, again, I think if you go talk to people, all those teams we talked about, they tell you, yeah, we got to win those games. When we go somewhere and we're a better football team, we can't go in and not score a touchdown and get beat 3 touchdowns and think that we're going to get put in the playoff.
Yeah, but you have these key teams that aren't playing anything. Anyway, I'm not saying Alabama should have got in right last year. I thought they should have got in over SMU. But I'm with you. They should have played better. When they look back at it, they have nobody to blame themselves for that game. But there were 2 touchdowns called back in that game, and one of them was absolutely horrendous. It was one of the worst calls of the year.
Illegal man downfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could sit here and replay every game that happened last year. You'd have 10 teams that would say stuff like that. So again, it's all subjective right now. I just hope, again, I don't want to repeat myself too much, that whatever format we come up with, that the regular season still matters. That we don't get to the point where there's so many teams that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I'm for 8. I think 8's enough, like the show back in the day. But Steve's like, well, they're not going to do that. I think I agree with you totally. That's my biggest fear. And now they're talking about not playing the Tennessee Alabama game. That's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
That's the thing. I remember talking to Mike Slav about that. The late Mike Slav about rivalries, and to me, in college football, not just in the SEC, but in college football, the fabric of the sport are rivalries like Georgia and Auburn and Alabama, Alabama and Tennessee, Florida and Georgia. I mean, if we ever, again, to my point about the regular season, if we have to quit playing those games on an annual basis, then that's not what's good for the game. That's not
100%.
Because then if you're doing that, you're forgetting about the fans. You're forgetting about generations of fans, granddads, dads, kids who come to those games, year after year after year and watch them. And you've got split families. You've got an Auburn family, an Alabama family. That's what college football is about. And I hope and pray that does not happen. Because if we're doing that, we're going the wrong direction.
Exactly. That's what made this game. This is what got this here to where it is, and why they're messing it up so bad. They'll eventually realize it, in my opinion.
Auburn, Florida used to be a big deal back in the day before divisions split that rival. I'd love to see that come back into the fold, but
they're not going to add anything, so they're taking it away.
Well, unfortunately, it's happened everywhere, guys. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State played for 100 some years.
Yeah,
and didn't play. I mean, it's on a lesser scale, but I think last year was the first time Alabama and Mississippi State hadn't played in 70 some years.
Yeah,
we would have loved to play them instead of Oklahoma.
But it changes from year to year. It cycles. It cycles.
They're 64 miles apart.
Yeah.
Right.
So I agree.
I hope common sense prevails. I hope common sense prevails, And no, everyone is not going to buy in to whatever format they come up with. And I think if we brought in 10 people right now in this conversation, SMU fans, Clemson fans, Oklahoma State fans, Oregon fans, they would all counter your argument, my argument about strength of schedule, who you played, et cetera. And we'd all say, well, no, we're right, you're wrong. And I think that's what's happening right now in these conversations in these meeting rooms when they're trying to figure out a format, because everybody wants what they want for their particular conference. And it's not necessarily taking 1,000 feet, a step back 1,000 feet and saying, all right, what makes the most sense for college football in general?
Chris, finally, I thought you had a really good point on Twitter when the National Football Foundation lowered the criteria for head coaches to get into the College Football Hall of Fame. We obviously went Pirate, but going Johnny Majors, I thought was very appropriate to bring up. He's already in as a player, but as a coach as well. I think that's worthy of giving you a shout out of. That's a good call right there, Chris.
Yeah, well, I think you throw Howard Schnellenberger in there too. I think you throw Coach Schnellenberger and Coach Majors both would be in that same category, because I think it's a lot. It's sort of what your influence was, what you did, your longevity, what you did with programs. In Majors' case, go back and look what Iowa State was before he got there. Pitt was awful before he got there. Tennessee was middling to average before he got there. And he won a national title. Same with Schnellenberger. Look at what he did at Miami.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, having just one threshold, whether it's 600 or 590 or whatever it is, I think you got to look at other factors and not just tie yourself down to that one deal. But I am certainly glad, having known and worked with Mike Leach as long as I have, and had the chance to, that he's going to have a chance to get in, because he was such an innovator and another guy that won at off-the-wall places that other people, hadn't necessarily won at. So I'm really, really thrilled for Mike and his family.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, I can't thank you enough for hopping on. It's always fun talking with you, and look forward to seeing you in Atlanta here in just a mere matter of weeks.
Yep, creeping up on us. You guys have a good weekend.
You as well, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Chris Lowe
See you
from
guys.
ESPN joining us as we are winding things down and getting ready for the Women's College World Series. But a very entertaining hour here as Scott Hastings helped us break down the NBA Finals and kind of go through his Dennis Rodman years.
I enjoyed that.
But Scott is.
I know. I couldn't wait to.
Scott Hastings is so good. But also Chris Lowe as well, diving a little bit more into some college football headlines. A big thank you to Full Moon Barbecue for hosting us. If you'd like to get $50 of Full Moon Barbecue just for $25, and you can also get multiple certificates. You can also do that as well. Head over to our website, 977ESPN.com. Brian Temple, thank you for your help back there on the ranch. I know this second hour was a little tough to deal with, so thank you, sir.
Since 1983, Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate's Ann Adams has been your local go-to real estate expert in the area. As a buyer, you can trust Ann's in-depth knowledge of the local housing market to narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in, saving you time when shopping for a new home. When you're ready to sell, Ann's expert negotiation skills will ensure you get a fair price and hassle-free experience. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or email annadamsrise@gmail.com. By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number.